Happy holidays, everyone! I hope you've been enjoying this festive season so far. I know I have, especially when I'm playing with my friends in Mario Kart. Over the years, we've seen many different themes for Mario Kart tracks. They've taken place underwater, in the desert, in the city, and even in space. But today, since there's a whole lot of this all over the place, and since Christmas is almost upon us, we're going to be covering snow-themed tracks. There's actually more of these than you may think, and most of them are pretty high quality. So today, I'm going to rank all of them, and I'm also going to cover any retro versions of these tracks if they exist. So without further ado, let's go! 20. Vanilla Lake 2. I think it's unanimously agreed upon that these are some of, if not the worst tracks in Mario Kart history. You drive on a frozen lake, so your driving is very slippery, and there's a massive pool of ice-cold water in the middle. There's also snow along the side that'll slow you down, but the biggest pain in the ass are these ice blocks around the track. Running into them stops you completely, and there's so many of them. I literally have nothing good to say about this track. It's that bad. 19. SNES Vanilla Lake 2. It's the exact same track as the last one, but now it's on the Game Boy Advance. The only thing it has going for it that's better than the original is the graphics. They look pretty good, but that doesn't change how annoying this track is. 18. Vanilla Lake 1. It's Vanilla Lake 2, but it's slightly better. I think the track flows a lot better than the other one, and there's not as many ice blocks. Unfortunately, the course still kind of sucks, and even though it's an improvement over Vanilla Lake 2, there's not enough to bump it higher on the list. 17. SNES Vanilla Lake 1. Just like the other GBA remake, the only thing that's been spiced up is the graphics. There's nothing more to say, moving on. 16. Sherbet Land Double Dash. This is the only track from the GameCube I would label as bad. Once again, the road is made out of ice that makes your driving all slippery, which sucks when combined with this game's already slippery controls. On top of that, there's a ton of ice skating Shy Guys and Freezies scattered around, making racing a much bigger hassle than it should be. I understand that the tracks in this game are meant to be chaotic, but when it comes at the expense of quality, that's a problem. 15. Snowland. For a GBA track, there's a fair amount of fun to be had here. There's lots of snow around the track that slows you down, there's certain spots of ice that are extra slippery, there's deep pools of water, and there's snowmen and penguins you can knock down. However, despite how flat the track is, my biggest problem is that when you're racing, the screen shakes constantly, which gets disorienting. There's not much more to say. It's just a decent Super Circuit track with enough stuff to stay interesting. 14. Sherbet Land 64. It's weird how there's two tracks in the Mario Kart series with the exact same name, but this one is pretty alright. You drive on a massive glacier with a lake of frozen water in the middle. You'll have to deal with sharp turns, little penguins sliding all over, and there's this massive cave with a lot less room to drive around. I'll admit that the ice physics make this one a bit more annoying to race on than I'd like it to be, but I'd much rather race here than the crap we got in Double Dash. 13. N64 Sherbet Land. Same track as before, but the graphics are given a bit of an upgrade, and there's a few speed boosts scattered around. Also, the ice physics in this remake don't interfere nearly as much as they did in the original, which is much appreciated. 12. GBA Snowland. Despite being lower on the list, this is still a good track and what I expect out of any GBA remake. The graphics are amazing, and the track layout is much more wavy and not completely flat like the original. There's also some ramps and places to take shortcuts, and there's little penguins that slide around the ice in the middle. Honestly, the only reason this track isn't higher is because it feels a bit too short, but that doesn't change how cool it really is. 11. Frappe Snowland. Unfortunately, no, you're not gonna find a frappe coffee in this course, but at least you're given a pretty good race. You cruise through this winter wonderland with lots of snow surrounding the road. The track has many twists and turns, and there's a bunch of snowmen placed around that'll absolutely annihilate you if you run into them. I'm not in love with this course, but I still think it's fun for what it is, and it's a lot better than this game's Sherbet Land in my opinion. 10. N64 Frappe Snowland. Just like the Sherbet Land remake on Wii, the DS remake of this track doesn't really do anything to make it more interesting, aside from sprucing up the graphics a little bit. I'm not saying this track needed a massive overhaul, but it also means it's not getting placed higher on this list. 9. Animal Crossing. I was debating on whether or not to include this, considering that this track actually switches seasons every time you race here, but since it has a winter variant, I'll let it slide. You drive through a small town during Christmas in the world of Animal Crossing. The course is a lot flatter than most of the tracks in Mario Kart 8, but it's still got some cool stuff like some snowmen you have to drive around, and there's a small gliding section with item balloons floating in the sky. There's not a whole lot more to say, it's just a very pleasant track, and the Christmas atmosphere works incredibly well. 8. Ice Ice Outpost. Out of all the original Mario Kart 8 DLC tracks, this one doesn't get talked about as highly as others, which is a shame because I really like it. This track takes the splitting track concept of Rainbow Road and applies it to the whole race, so there's plenty of strategy involved with picking the faster path and avoiding the other players. There's plenty of shortcuts hidden throughout the course, and using them is harder than you might think. I'll admit that the track has a pretty meh theme to it, but I just like racing here. It gives me this weird thrill that I can't really describe. 7. Rosalina's Ice World. As the name implies, you are indeed driving through an ice world, so expect to see a lot of ice. You'll drive through an icy cavern with some steep curves, you'll cruise on an icy lake with holes in it, and even go inside the lake where penguins are swimming around, and the final portion has you going through this massive cave with spikes of ice poking out of the ground and a few dash panels. I've always been a fan of Rosalina, and I'm really glad she delivered on her first and currently only track in the series that's dedicated to her. 6. GameCube Sherbet Land. Sweet Jesus, this is so much better than the original, not only because the visuals were given an incredible upgrade, but because the course is actually fun to race on. The track layout is wider than the original, so obstacles like Shy Guys and Freezies aren't as much of a nuisance. Also, the giant holes of water that used to be off limits in the original now lead to extra paths you can take while racing. This course is still the same Sherbet Land at heart, but it is miraculous compared to the original. 5. DK Pass. I'm not really sure why this is a DK track, but okay. You drive up a path carved into a snowy mountain, and there's some snowmen standing on the side, and even giant snowballs rolling near the top. Once you get to the top yourself, your only option is down, and from now until then, the track is very bumpy, and you've got more snowballs trying to crush you, and then the final part has you zooming off this ramp and into this area with even more snowmen to watch out for. I've always had a soft spot for this course. It's so simple yet very enjoyable to race through, and the music has this very calm yet energetic feeling to it, which I really like. 4. DSDK Pass. It's pretty much the same track, but with a small graphical upgrade. The main difference from the original is that there's some ramps added to the second half of the track, and the speed ramp at the end has been changed to a gliding ramp. These are both welcome additions since they make racing a lot faster and have more strategy. But other than that, it's the same course, and I'm okay with that. 3. Merry Mountain. Now that this track is in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, I feel obligated to put it on the list. And man, it is so refreshing to see a track like this. You drive through a Christmas-themed mountain, so there's tons of Christmas decorations like presents, candy canes, and trees, and even this flying Christmas train that'll toss coins onto the track. There's also a few splitting paths, a half-pipe, and I especially love the section where you zoom down the steep incline before gliding back to the start. The track is fairly short, but I don't care. It is so excellent. 2. DK Summit. Again, what does this have to do with DK? Well, I guess it doesn't matter since this track is frickin' awesome. DK Summit truly embraces the extreme sports feeling this game was going for. There's tons of bumps, ramps, and half pipes to trick off of. There's these thick patches of snow and large pits of death you need to drive around, and you've even got these cool snowboarding Shy Guys. This entire course is one big crazy house, and that's what makes it so fantastic. Unfortunately for it though, it's not quite epic enough to earn the #1 spot. That award goes to 1. Mount Wario. I can't believe I'm saying this, but this track might just outdo Waluigi Pinball for me. It's that incredible. You start by speeding down the icy side of a mountain to gliding through this massive cave, and then you find yourself driving on the side of a dam and zooming through the small forest, and finally, you dash through the ski resort with plenty of places to do tricks and gain speed. And while this is happening, the music changes depending on what section you're in and becomes more intense. It's hard to describe describe the pure excitement you feel when playing this track. It gives this wonderful experience that no other track has replicated, and that's why it's the best snow track in all of Mario Kart. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, then make sure to give it a like, and let me know down in the comments which one of these tracks is your favorite. Also, subscribe to my channel with notifications on so you'll know when I post more videos like this. Have a great day, stay safe out there, and Merry Christmas!